Everybody's talking about MapleStory Classic coming out. The Nexon basically is planning to release a MapleStory Classic server that is faithful to the original experience before pre-Big Bang and everything like that. So I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about what is happening and what are my takes on what Nexon should do to make the experience better and lasting. That's the important thing. And the question is basically, is really like playing MapleStory outside of the nostalgia like worth to play in 2025, 2026? Is it gonna be like a huge big competitor like old school RuneScape or hardcore WoW? And I want to take a moment to analyze those actually projects, to take them as an example. Let's say old school RuneScape and WoW hardcore mainly, because there is interesting things that Nexon can take away out of these let's say classic experiences and implement them to make it successful. So let's talk about the basics. I don't want to talk about the basics, everybody has covered them. People have covered HP washing. Obviously nobody wants that, and probably Nexon knows about it, and they're not going to introduce it in any way, shape or form into the game. So even though it's quote unquote profitable, I don't think people are going to like it, and they're just going to leave and not play anymore. Basically, obviously, I think everybody agrees that no content past Big Bang. Obviously everybody hates Big Bang. It was trash, like literally trash after that. So nobody wants post Big Bang content. So let's clarify that. I think a lot of people agree also with the idea of quote unquote Classic Plus, which is basically adding more content just for Classic. That's fine. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And quality of life changes, like the assassins or rogues, right? Or bowmen should be able to hit monsters even though the monsters is close and things like that. I mean, I'm not gonna cover like these things because basically people are covering these things and saying, oh, okay, and let's just like not change other than that. Let's not change anything and leave the classic experience just as is, and that's it. And one thing I don't like actually are purists. Purists are basically these people that they want to keep things exactly as they were, the same thing, without changing anything, without realizing actually that they might have worked in the past, but in the present they don't work. That doesn't make any sense. And there are some things, good things about purists actually. I want, for example, like most people want like basically a classic experience that it's almost like one-to-one to the old experience. Let's like MapleStory before Big Bang. I'm not gonna talk about versions because to be honest, a lot of people say version 0.40 version whatever. I honestly don't know the versions. I know pre-Big Bang and post-Big Bang, and that's it. I know content was released, but I'm not like I used to play the game and just enjoy it without knowing what version is this. This is version this. Okay, like I don't know honestly the versions in this case. And it doesn't matter to know the versions. Just knowing pre-Big Bang, post-Big Bang, I think that's enough. So yeah, I mean, I want to talk about a couple of things. So the first thing is like, is it just like adding these little things, no HP washing, no content, and just like no content past Big Bang? Is that going to be enough to keep the game alive after the nostalgia wears out? And honestly, I don't think so that much. The reason is because a lot of there used to be a lot of friction, a lot of bad decisions that were made at the time, and that's fine because it was like an early gaming experience development, like 2024, 2025, 2026. These are early experiences of MMORPGs, let's say like MapleStory, so it's fine making those mistakes. But I think that one interesting thing that they mentioned is that they're going to make the game, they're not gonna just grab an old version of the game and just like change some things and that's it. Like that's basically what the private servers, what Artale is doing. This is something that, because they don't have actually access to create things from the ground up, basically, I mean, it's too hard. They just like grab an old version, let's say for the private servers, and just like modify one thing or two there, drop rate, experience rate, and then just just go from there. And that's it. Remove SP washing, HP washing, like I said, private servers, and leave the experience basically the same. But the fact that they're gonna basically kind of recreate it without this old code, if that makes sense. They could use obviously the old code, but without literally grabbing the old code, it's a good thing, I think. And one of the reasons has to do with how bad the code of old MapleStory used to be. We're gonna talk about that a little bit, on that. So let me give you a couple of my takes. So we can that was basically the introduction. Let me give you a couple of my takes. One of the first takes that I have is people are talking about increasing HP, right? So they say, hey, you know what? No HP washing, and let's make people have a little bit more HP so they don't get one-shotted by some specific mobs or basically bosses, right? So and not having the obligatory thing to have body a hyper body from a Dark Knight or whatever to just survive. And a lot of private servers have done that. They have done it in different ways, like with potions. I think Artil does it with potions, and other places do it with quests or whatever, that you increase your HP, whatever, to remove HP washing. And to be honest, that is super lazy. I don't think MapleStory should do that. Maple Classic should do that at all. It's just increasing the HP. It doesn't solve the problem. There is actually a better way to solve the problem, and that is about the armor in equipments. Nobody's talking about that, and that is actually something very interesting and important to fix. I had the privilege to be a part of a community that basically was playing around with the ideas of fixing the game, basically the old version of the game. And one of the things that they used to share with the community, basically all the broken things code-wise that used to be, or the old MapleStory version had. And one of the things is the armor calculation and how it works. That is super broken. That doesn't work. That is trash. And that's how you see, for example, in MapleStory, let's say up to level 30, armor is kind of fine. It helps you a little bit to tank a little bit more. But after that, armor is trash. Nobody's care about armor. Nobody cares about armor. There are freaking armor scrolls that potential 60%, 10% for armor that people are not talking about. Those are the worst scrolls. Nobody cares. Nobody wants them. It's not exciting to rank up your armor because armor doesn't do anything, basically. And what about that? Let's go ahead and actually fix armor. Let's make armor matter. If you have armor, you should be able to tag more hits. You're not gonna get one-shotted and things like that. And let's fix the formula as you level up, as you keep getting higher armor values. Making sure that would fix, and you don't have to increase HP or doing something weird about it. So you probably, some class like thieves or whatever will still almost maybe get one shot, but I think it would fix it. I mean, if you would fix the armor formula, which bring me to the other part that I want to talk about. Dexless assassins or Dexless warriors or any one stat build that people want to go into. People are saying, let's go with the obvious, Dexless assassins, which were relatively broken, to be honest. I actually hated them. I used to play assassin, and it was crazy seeing other people spending millions upon millions of mesos, which I didn't have at the time, to just get this maple claws and this robes or towels or whatever, that they just have a bunch of stats and go from there. And it didn't matter. Why? Because armor doesn't matter. So you just need the attack and that's it, and you're done. Or obviously the speed, HP washing part and whatever. Dexless assassin or Dexless builds, they're fine. I actually don't want them to remove them if they do the armor logic. And let me explain this a little bit. Let's say, the way it should be, I think, talking about the assassins is, let's say that the armor is fixed and it matters. You have assassins that do take the armors and the builds, let's say level 70 armor, level 60 armor, etc., and they keep ranking up or the armor that they can get, right? So they are the the equipment has more armor, etc. And then you have the Dexless assassin, which has to stay with a certain robe that basically has no armor. Let's put it like in those terms. So the way it could be, it's like you have people that would be able to go Dexless, have more damage, which is fine, but they would have a risky gameplay where they later on, let's say level 70, again the armor formula is fixed, and then you have like they can almost even get one shot from monsters, and they have to spam pod or whatever, like when they are like in deep looty or something, whatever they are, right? So and they have to spam pod or be very worried about the armor. Like, yes, they make more damage, but it's like a sacrifice. You know, they're sacrificing damage for getting one-shotted or not be able to survive things in dungeons or in actually training situations. Whereas you have the other assassins that, okay, they make less damage to the Dexless assassins, but they can survive. They can survive deep looty without getting one-shotted, almost one-shotted. Maybe they can get three-shotted, meaning survive 2 shots and then the third one they're dead, kind of deal, because they have armor, right? So the equipment, they are equipping the actual equipment that they're supposed to equip, and yeah, they go from there. I think that is a great way to fix the quote-unquote Dexless versus Dexless versus non-Dexless assassin situation. For instance, I think they should exist if it works like that, where you you're sacrificing basically a something and you get something in return, but then you balance. That's super balanced. I mean, it's sacrificing armor versus damage. I think that's an interesting idea. I don't know what you guys think, but like I said, maybe my ideas are not as popular. Maybe that's why not everybody's talking about it, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. I want to keep talking about the other thing. For example, 1 XP versus 1.5 XP versus 2 XP. This is trash also. This idea is trash and lazy, actually. In fact, even 1 XP is not good. I don't care. I don't want any 1 XP, 2 XP, 3 XP, whatever, like for to make the leveling experience faster. What I do want is fixing the values of mobs, like how much XP they actually give. Because let's say that they do 2 XP, just to put an example. That means that the same mobs that used to be meta, let's say, let's go with I don't know. Damn, I forgot. Let's put an example. Everybody goes to Pig Beach, right? Because the map is good. The pigs are good. They give good experience, whatever. Let's say everybody goes there. If you put 2 XP, people will still go there because obviously, like that just become better. That Pig Beach just become better, and all of the other places with mobs will all just become better. How about to solve the problem? Increase the XP of certain mobs that are not as popular, make other maps more viable, right? Because people go to the same, let's go to the same map every time. Why having, like, everybody knows, a lot of the people that are going to go into Maple Classic, they know how the game works. The game works in a certain way. They're going to jump right into the game with the idea on how to play it. They know the min-maxing, which I hate, by the way, but some people do. There are some good things about min-maxing, but I don't like min-maxing. It's just like, it takes away the entertainment or the enjoyment of the game. Like, why just, like, be able to explore new things? It's like, hey, now, I don't know, now a certain mob it's meta, or a certain map is good, and you have people spread around different places, different areas that they can just enjoy because a certain mob gives a little bit more experience and the map is a little bit better, and from there people just go and train in different places. I think that's interesting. I think they should keep it 1x with the addition of fixing maps and mobs experiences so they can just be viable and more interesting. I think that would be better, but that's just my take. So another thing that I want to do, we're going to talk about, is class changes. People are not talking about that, and let's be honest, let's just talk about the most obvious skills that are the trashes and nobody cares. There are a couple, but I just want to focus on one because I used to play assassin, right? Rogue, first job, disorder. What in the heaven is that shit? That is literally the trashiest skill ever. Nobody uses, does nothing, affects nothing. It doesn't go with the class because you literally have to be close range to just like do that, and rogues don't want to be close range to do this. It's just the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. That is a waste. Obviously, everybody knows it. Why having that skill? Like, it's like, oh, let's just go ahead and have the vanilla, everything, the same thing over and over. Is it worth it though? Isn't it worth it to actually make changes to make skills like that don't exist, or change it for something? Even if it's new, doesn't matter, a new skill, right? Or they don't have to, they can replace it with a passive, something else, but that skill does nothing, and it's trash. And I'm, okay, I don't believe that all skills should be like very good and whatever. In fact, it's fine that if you have a skill, let's say in the first profession, the first job, and then you go to the third job, and the first job skill, you don't use it anymore. I think that's fine, that happens in MMOs actually, in some MMOs. And that's okay. I mean, I don't have issues with that. My problem is like having literally trash skills that you are not going to use in any way, shape, or form. Disorder, trash. So let's go ahead and remove those things. The skills that don't make sense. Something I want to talk about also is class identity. One problem that I think MapleStory has is MapleStory has warriors and quote-unquote tanks, but it doesn't work the same as play games like, let's say, World of Warcraft, where you actually have a tank and you can tell it's a tank. It looks like, not only looks like a tank, but feels like a tank. You have a shield or super high armor, you tank hits, and like, yes, your tank hits in MapleStory, but like, sometimes I don't feel like it's just like tanks. It's just basically who makes the most damage, and that's it. Like, normally, like tanks or warriors, whatever, they don't do that much damage, but they can tank, that's for sure. So if we have like the armor formula fixed, like their armor is going to become better, and they're going to be better in certain things, certain situations. Obviously, they would get like really a bad time when they don't get touched, meaning with magic, which is, hey, same thing. That is warriors. Warriors are not tanky against magic, and that's fine. But look, how about this? Class identity, right? Let's talk about shields, right? So, and warriors. So using shields in MapleStory Classic is literally the worst thing ever. Nobody uses shields, only for the appealing. Let's be real. Some people do. The attack speed, the attack speed of one-handed weapons and whatever, sure. But the reality is that nobody actually uses shields, or actually, like that's not meta, that nobody cares. How about making it actually matter? How about making shields important? For example, and giving it a little bit of an identity to the shields, you know what I mean? You can make something like, for example, pages, right? You can make pages be the things that they're supposed to be. Like, you have three types of warriors. You have ones that use polearm. I believe that they can be the ones that attack the slowest, let's say, but do the most amount of damage. You have warriors that the crusaders, right, that they should be faster, a little bit attacking faster, and do faster damage. And then you have pages, which are supposed to be the tankiest, or paladins, or whatever kind of thing. And they could, just as an idea, have a skill in the second job or whatever that is about shields or something. Or maybe all warriors. You know, all warriors maybe should have a shield skill, like one or the other, that people can go one route and then the other route. Like, for example, a shield skill that allows them to activate it and give them a chance for a certain amount of time to block. You know how people miss, like, let's say, or evade, or whatever. Let's say if you walk by a mob, I think the evade in some situation words come out, or miss, right? The mob missed and didn't hit you because you have avoidability. Like, how about making something like that with block? You block damage. Like, maybe shields can have like a stat, right? The shields can have a stat that, like, rather than the armor and whatever, they can have a stat like gives a percentage chance of blocking damage, right? Like, that would be awesome. Or that could be that for the shields, warrior shields. Or you can have like a skill that when you activate it, like it has a little bit of an animation that the page, for example, raises the shield, and any touch damage is blocked for 10 seconds or whatever, right? So and then you have a cooldown of 1 minute, something like that, right? So that would give them like, okay, the mob is gonna like embossing. Oh, the boss is gonna do his attack. Let me just go ahead and block and raise my shield. That would be so cool. And that has nothing to do with the MapleStory Classic experience. But one thing that we have to consider is like, if we want this game to live, I think it should be like that. I think it should be like having new content and new ideas just with the flavor of classic. I think that would be amazing. Actually, things like that. Another example of a skill that is trash is Power Guard. Power Guard is basically you reflect damage to the enemy. Like, what is that? Like, Power Guard is a pretty bad skill in my opinion, and I don't think it should be like that. I think it should be reflecting damage. Okay, I have an idea. So let's say, how about Power Guard? You know, like if you guys have played some games like Dota 2, for example, where there is this character called Axe that when you hit him, he has a chance of spinning around him. How about Power Guard? Something like that. Like, Power Guard does a very little damage, very little amount of damage. Like the same thing, reflect a certain amount of damage, but in an AoE. How about that? I mean, warriors that have that skill, they can touch enemies and kind of aggro them and accumulate them in an area. Like and they can give them a little bit of an animation, like Axe. Let's say, like you just spin. There's kind of like a spin animation or spin whatever, and then just all the mobs in that area reflect damage, like have the reflection damage, and then just like they attract to you because you are pulling aggro to them. That's an interesting idea, and I think that would be awesome to the skill. Like, it could be something like that. What I'm trying to say is, like, there are skills that make no sense, and they should definitely change them 100%. I want to talk about the boat ride as well. Before, like, that's the second last topic that I want to talk about. People are talking about boat ride should remove it. Some people say no. The reality is, boat ride is fine. The boat ride is 100% fine. And one-to-one comparison is like World of Warcraft Classic for the Griffin rides. Sometimes you have to ride like, what? I don't even know, 5 minutes, maybe more, to get to a place, and people are chill with it. They're fine. I mean, and that is even worse because you don't even have the social aspect that you would have in MapleStory. So they can reduce it, you know, like maybe 3 minutes wait and then 5 minutes in the boat or whatever it is. Unless the Balrogs come out, then it takes a little bit longer, whatever. I don't know. But they could make a system like this, the safe system, and I think people are just gonna be chill about it. It's gonna be fine. I don't think it's a problem to wait a little bit to go to a continent. We have an example there that is similar, like World of Warcraft. People like it. It's fine. People don't care. And lastly, I want to talk about some people are talking about the poll system of RuneScape, and I think that is great, actually. The reality is, we know Nexon. I don't think Nexon is going to implement none of the things, actually, or very little of the things I'm saying, or a lot of people are saying, and including the poll system. Like, Nexon is not known for that, and to communicate very well with the community. They're doing a better job now, a little bit, but not as much. But poll system will be great, yes. I like the RuneScape example of the poll system because it shows how they have a situation where it shows that actually there is a difference between like purists, which tend to be the loudest, to be honest, in certain community classic like that. They tend to be the loudest people, and then you have people what actually people want. I believe there was a moment in time in RuneScape, where old school RuneScape, where they left this system where how to buy items, whatever. They didn't have like some kind of action house or whatever. They didn't have that, and they left it like that. Like, they just grabbed an old version and left it like that to leave it, you know, to stay as classic as possible, if you will. But then they made a poll and they say, hey, do you guys want us to add kind of like an action house or something? And the majority said yes. And that is an example there where some people said no, obviously, the purists, I would say, but they changed it and the game is thriving and it's fine. You know, like they might be loud for a moment, like and the oh no, it has to be exactly the same and leave no changes and whatever. But like the reality is that the majority of people do want some changes, and they don't feel like leaving the game one-to-one with some quality of lives is gonna matter. The last thing I want to mention is the Classic Plus. I totally agree with that. I think Classic Plus is more, should be more, and it should be the things, some similar, not exactly what I'm saying, but things in the flavor that what I'm saying. It's like Classic Plus should be changing the game in a way to make it more modern, better, like removing skills that don't work, changing formulas, changing certain things to make it more viable, to not make this min-maxing, metagaming, like the same thing. And also obviously content. Some people are talking about making similar content the way MapleStory tends to make content. Like for example, you have like Elnath. You level up to Elnath until you get to the boss to Elnath, which is Zachem. You go to Sleepywood, then the mobs getting stronger and stronger until you get to Balrog. Like this concept is fine, but I think they should be bigger. For example, they could release new towns and new ideas in the future for Classic Plus, where you have a huge different continent similar to Victoria Island, where you have different cities, different mechanics, different things happening in different areas. Like, hey, I want to help this area, or I don't focus on this area, or I don't focus on this area. And then you have like this, like I said, like that lead you to certain things. Like for example, Victoria Island is beautiful because every city has its own kind of like struggle or situation that you want to tackle. You have let's say Kerning City that has the swamp, or like the you have Elina Forest that has like the witches and the loopy, like the monkeys, ghosts, I forgot the name, the ones that have the dead monkeys or whatever, and little things like that. Each area has something interesting to explore and like to go into, and I think like creating a continent in the future, obviously, that goes beyond that. Like for example, the Temple of Time is basically like the same formula of monsters get a little bit stronger until you get to the boss at the end. I think it should be more than that, like Classic Plus, like having other ideas would be interesting. But again, I think that they're not going to change any of that. I don't think they're going to add any of that, because Nexon doesn't do any of that. So at that point, it would be basically changing the whole company or whatever and making people think in a different way, which I don't, obviously it's not going to happen. So. But yeah, all in all, I think that if the game is released in a way that's similar, let's say that classic servers are doing it, increasing a little bit the XP and no HP washing, increasing the HP, leaving skills that are trash, and doing like these things that are quality of life, like Artil, but just leaving it basically like to keep it as classic as possible, I think the game would die. Am I gonna play the game? Yes, obviously I'm gonna play the game because of the nostalgia and whatever. But the question is, how far? Like nostalgia can just take you to that far, you know. Like there's not like people are not gonna play it for the nostalgia forever. The nostalgia is gonna worn down, and just like people are gonna stop playing it. So I think that they have to plan ahead of that, and if they do it like Artel, yes, Artel is a little bit wonky, whatever, but like because of the platform that it was built into, but like even if it was not wonky, like I said, you just quality of lives and no HP washing or whatever, and just the basic things that everybody's saying, I think the game would die, to be honest. Because let's like in World of Warcraft, for example, World of Warcraft Classic is no longer as good anymore because obviously they keep releasing the game, kind of like old expansions without adding anything new, and I think people don't like that. People like, let's say the server, I believe one of the I think the most popular server is like Hardcore WoW, classic wise, right? Hardcore WoW. World of Warcraft Classic just stay the same classic version. But what is appealing to it is like the factor of not dying, and why not? Which I'm not saying that MapleStory should do that, but that's the thing. If you just leave things classic, like let's say that classic was classic forever, like it's not as appealing because you just complete the classic content and you're done. Like that's it. It's like you get bored and start doing other things. RuneScape, old school RuneScape releases content on old school RuneScape, new content that keeps it alive, quality of life and little things that people just appreciate. The poll system again is great, and I believe that for MapleStory Classic to actually continue and live on forever, should just do those things, in my opinion. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think the game should just stay untouched? Do you guys think the game should just have, stay untouched but with quality of life changes? Do you guys feel that the game should have Classic Plus and other things? Like, do you guys agree with some of the things I'm saying when it comes to armor formula changes and not only increasing HP and increasing the HP of increasing the experience of a little bit of mobs and little things like that to make the game feel better and not have like make it more classic but new at the same time? So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching if you guys did, and yeah, I will see you in the next one. Take care.